Hi, how's everybody doing? So I'm actually getting ready to, I said that I was going to get the CPS reports about Craig, but I've decided I'm not going to do that because I don't want to violate my brother's privacy. And since they're the ones who made the reports on him, if they're not going to go and bring up those reports that were made against Craig, because it was mostly Alex and Travis who reported on him when we were kids to CPS, I'm not going to even worry about going to get those documents and reports from CPS, because I'm getting ready to go up against the media for violating my personal rights and using me for purposes that are becoming harmful, dangerous, and, to be honest, slanderous. So I've decided not to go to CPS to get those reports about Craig for the main reasons that I don't want to drag my brothers. I don't want to drag them into something that I know the media really doesn't care about, and the fact that they're just going to eat off of that information. And I don't want to drag my brothers down into that. I don't think that that's fair for me to do just because I'm fighting for my justice. I don't necessarily want to drag them into this because I've seen what the community has done to me, and I really don't want to bring my brothers in on the things that I've been experiencing at their expense. But the interesting thing is, so here's the interesting thing. I'm one of the only victims in the United States that has allowed my name. Well, I didn't actually allow them to do this, but I'm one of the only type of victims in the United States where their name and all of their personal information was published in a corporate media publication. Usually, legally, they don't usually use the actual real victims' names to protect the victim that they're writing the story about. And in this particular case, they did not protect my rights. They did not protect my name. They did not protect my personal information. They basically told everybody all of the information about me, everything. And that is what caused the harm and danger against my personal safety, especially at my places of employment, where I live, the places where I go, and everything of that and that nature. So, and it's actually interesting because, like I said, there's not a ton of people who have a story like mine on the internet from the previous 20 years. Because this, of course, that wasn't the first story that was written about me. But there's not that many people, black or white, that have a story published about them in this specific topic. And so it's actually interesting for me as an activist to be able to see the reaction and the response from the community, being an advocate and being a victim. That story was publicized and on the internet and things like that. So it's actually interesting for me to be able to see how the community really treats victims and how they respond to stories such as mine. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think that it is extremely dangerous. I think it's dangerous for media corporations and publications and corporations to write stories about people, putting their personal information on the internet for people that really don't give a crap and are pretty much just being nosy and just want a good story to read. I think it's extremely dangerous. Like, the story was actually published a few years ago. However, I'm still dealing with the response and the comments from the community. And one of the things that the media likes to say is we can't control what the public does with the information. But if they can't control what the public is doing with the information, or they can't protect the person that they're writing about, they should not be writing about them. Because if they can't protect the person and make sure that their information is protected, their safety is protected, and this isn't just about LGBTQ. This is about abuse victims, like abuse survivors, people that have been traumatized sexually and exploited sexually. And a lot of the times we do talk about LGBTQ and their rights being violated. But the interesting thing about this is that we're now talking about sexual abuse survivors and victims and their privacy not being protected and their identities being exploited within the media and their personal privacy information, work details, their personal information such as the birth date, social security numbers, school information, health records, mental health records being violated. So we're not actually even talking about LGBTQ, we're talking about victims of sexual crimes. And we're talking about the fact that the media doesn't think that they need to protect these people and their rights. They think that they're gonna get off with an excuse such as so they think that they're gonna be able to use yeah, they know that I'm making a video about this and they don't like it. You guys heard the fire truck. But I don't really care about the fire trucks and shit. I don't give a fuck. But the interesting thing about this is that the media has no issue going into victims' personal business and spreading their stories on the internet, but somehow they don't think that they're responsible for how the community reacts to the stories that they're writing about the victims. And like I said, previously the story was about LGBTQ, but now I'm trying to see how do we protect victims who are sharing their story with the media. Because there doesn't seem to be protections for these type of people. And I'm trying to figure out why that is, you know. Now, my particular situation is unique because I am an advocate, I am an activist, and I wanted to help people. But that doesn't necessarily give the community the right to stalk and harass and to violate the Constitution. That doesn't give the community the right to do whatever they want to do with people's stories, nor does it give the media that wrote the stories the right to continue to write stories about the victims. And it doesn't give them the right, the media, the right to be able to violate the constitutional rights of the people that they're writing about. So this conversation is very, very interesting. And I think that bringing this conversation to the light is actually going to change some of the laws involving how they're able to write about victims. Because media corporations, they make their money off of stories, especially stories like mine that are about sexism, racism, LGBTQ, politics, health, mental health. Like the media, that's the type of stories that they like to write about. But when they are writing stories that are hazardous to the people that they're writing the stories about, the question is, why is it that we're okay with protecting LGBTQ and their rights, but when we come to talk about sexual assault victims, everybody just thinks that they can do whatever they want and violate whatever constitutionals that they want to violate? And that's the conversation that we're going to start having. Because, and of course, you know that I have fought for LGBTQ rights ever since I was a child. So no, I am not anti-gay. No, I am not anti-LGBTQ. No, I am not anti-trans. No, I am not none of those things. But the question still needs to be, there's things that need to be talked about, and there's laws that need to be made to be able to protect the identity of these victims. And I don't really hear people talking about that. You know, they want to talk about false allegations. They want to talk about men that have been wrongly accused. But what nobody is talking about is how to protect these victims when they come out to share their stories. Everybody now wants to be an activist. Everybody now wants to open up a activism business and all this old stuff. Everybody now wants to be paid for their speeches and and going in front of a crowd and talking. But some of the best activism, some of the most important and most impactful activism is the activism that we do for free. When we speak about the things that we've experienced without making it into a business. Because when activism becomes about money, it's like, you know, where is the genuineness in that? You know, where is the genuinism in the activism, and especially when we're talking about trauma survivors, and especially when we're talking about sexual assault, and especially when we're talking about rape or child abuse? Money is not the most important thing. Now, I have heard, and here's the thing, I am suing these people, and yes, the only thing that they could do is pay me my money, because honestly, they can't go back into the past and redo what they've done. They can't go back into the past and protect my rights as a victim. They can't go back into the future or in the past and protect my constitutional rights. They can't go back and fix none of the stuff and the damages that they caused. So yes, I will be expecting them to pay me damages and money for the things that they've allowed to happen, period. And I know people are talking about this deed and zero this and zero that and who's a hero and who's a zero. Now, I didn't go into activism to be a hero or a zero. Okay, everything I did was for free, including sharing my story, letting everybody just do whatever they want with my story and information. I did all of that for free. So it's not about being a hero or a zero, period. But when it comes down to me being paid for the damages that have occurred, I expect to be paid the money that these folk owe to me for the damages that they've caused in my life, period. And that includes the police department, that includes CPS, that includes everybody who violated my constitutional rights, specifically the police department, because what they're doing is making it dangerous for victims to even speak about being raped and assaulted. And so it's making it so now people don't even want to speak about it. They don't want to even go to the police and report that crimes have occurred because of the things that the police department are doing to the actual victims that are involved. And so it's become a very predatory department where they are treating the victims as if they are the predators and the people who are the danger to society, instead of arresting the actual predators and the abusers and the men that are out here assaulting and abusing these women and children. I have seen the police department use men that have been recently released from jail to mingle among women who are homeless. I have seen them use men that are on house arrest to harass, stalk, and antagonize women, known sexual assault victims. I have seen the police department recruit and hire criminals, specifically men who have just been released from prison from all type of crimes. I've seen the police department hire and recruit men that were on house arrest for rape, assault, and everything else to come out here and antagonize women. This is unacceptable, and this is the reason why I am suing the police department. And so I just wanted to make it very clear about what this is really about. And at the end of the conversation, there are people who have been wrongly accused of crimes. There are men who have been wrongly accused of sexual whatever. But I'm not one of those people who have wrongly accused people. And for the police department to be siding with men is absolutely ridiculous and egregious. So that's all I really have to say on this particular video. Like I said, I'm not going to say too much on this video, but the truth of the matter is that there needs to be work accomplished within these departments, and it has nothing to do with reform. This has nothing to do with reform, okay? This has nothing to do with reform, because what they did with the police reform is now they're basically hiring criminals to come out here and do the police dirty work, okay? So the reform that they're talking about is something that is absolutely just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It was a scam then, and it's a scam now. Okay, it is what it is. And there's been talks to them replacing me, firing me, or whatever. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't give a shit, because I didn't ask to work with these folks anyway, because I don't agree with nothing that they're doing. I don't agree with none of the stuff that they're doing. So even when my term is over, and it was supposed to be over in May, so I'm not sure why the fuck I'm even being bothered. But I can probably, like I said, as far as the departments, I don't care if they want to work with me or not, because I don't agree with none of the stuff that they're doing. I don't agree with what public transportation is doing. I don't agree with none of that freaking shit. I don't. And I'm not trying to cuss. But this lawsuit that I'm getting ready to file is going to challenge them, especially the media, on protecting the constitutionals of victims.